Hello, SilentWheel29 here again, and I'm back with a new Evolsaur deck. Basically, this is a revision into my January 2015 Banlist Evolsaur deck, because someone requested a more turbo version of the deck. So, without further ado, let's get right to it. So first off, I reduced the Cerato from 3 to 2. Because you're going to be using Najasho a lot more often, so you're going to need this, the Diplo's effects a lot more often, because an extra MSD is always nice. So yeah, Diplo is being bumped up from 2 to 3, obviously, because we want the extra MSD effect. And then we also have the 3 Volcanoes, same as before. And then the new addition to the deck is the 3 Kagetokage instead of the 3 Quantum Cats. I find that Kagetokage is much faster, and one good thing about it is that it's not vulnerable to MSD like Quantum Cats. So yeah, Kagetokage is a really nice substitute, especially since you can search it out with King of the Feral Imps. Keep in mind that with Kagetokage you can't make Laggia Dolkka. That's the only downside, but if you're ahead anyway, you can just make King of the Feral Imps and search out one of the reptiles, so you can make your play next turn. And talking about reptiles, now we have the Evoltile Casinerio. Just one, same as before. Really good if you have it in on your first turn and your opponent just has a set face down monster that you can just run over. Usually you can run it over if people set their cards. It usually has a low defense and they want it to be destroyed anyway. So yeah, still 3 Westlo. You can argue that Westlo is a bit slow and predictable, especially if you've searched it with Evo-Diversity. Your opponent obviously knows you're going to be setting the Westlo. But 3 of it is just really essential to get off your Dino's effect, especially Diplo. If you're kind of afraid of back row, you can just pass this turn by setting Westlo, and you can pop one of their back rows next turn to make sure your plays goes through safely. And then obviously we also have the 3 Najasho, because this is what makes the deck turbo. The Najasho basically combos well with the 3 Evo-Force that are run in this deck. If you already have 2 dinosaurs in your graveyard, obviously you can go Evo-Force into Volcano, and then with Najasho's effect, when it gets distributed, you can also bring Volcano from your deck. Then essentially you can summon 2 XYZ monsters using these 2 cards, and I usually go for the Dolkka and the Laggia. And basically after that, if my opponent has nothing on the board already, they just kind of cry, because you know it's very hard to deal with 2 stun monsters that can basically negate everything. So yeah. 3 Evo-Force and 3 Najasho is obviously essential to this deck, since I am trying to make it more turbo. And then 1 Raigeki, because Laggia and Dolkka aren't really strong monsters. They're only 2400 and 2300 attacks respectively. So obviously Raigeki is just there to help out with that. So you can just make your Laggia or Dolkka plays. And still be able to get through their current board. Some of you might be arguing that nowadays there are too many things that benefit from being popped. Well, that is true. If you can get out your Dolkka anyways, that won't matter, since Dolkka can negate monster effects. And then we still have the 3 Evo-Diversity, because this is one of the only searches for the deck. And it's very important to be able to search a Casinerio first turn if you can run over something, or if you have a dead Kagetokage in your hand without a level 4, or whenever you just want to set a Westlo on your field. And even though I am making a turbo build, Pot of Dualities I feel like are still necessary, just because sometimes you have a dead hand without a Najasho without the Evo-Force or the enemy controller, or just an Evo-Force without any reptiles, and you just kind of need that kind of consistency. So I run 2 dualities. And even though you can't special summon, if you run to Evo-Singularity, say, you don't even need to special summon on your turn. You can just special summon on your opponent's turn, and you can still make some pretty big comeback to the game. without like special summoning on your turn. So yep, dualities are still pretty important in this deck. And then obviously 3 MSDs are still important, considering that a lot of decks nowadays still play back rows, and yeah, Vanities just kind of ruins this deck. So 3 MSDs. And then we have the Book of Moon. Very versatile card. You can either use it to stop your opponent's plays, or you can use it to reset your Westlo back to the flip defense position. And if say your opponent targets your Westlo with breakthrough skill or something, you can just Book of Moon it, and then you get to reset it, and you can still get its effect off without being affected by breakthrough skill. So. And then furthermore, I have a new addition to this deck, which is the 2 enemy controls. Seeing as how we run 3 Najashos, being able to tribute is actually pretty damn important in this deck, because otherwise Najasho is kind of dead in your hand. And enemy control is also a very nice versatile card, because you can either use its effect to tribute Najasho, or you can just simply use it to switch your opponent's monster to a defense position, so you can run over it or stop its attack. And going to traps, we have the 1 Bottomless trap hole. So next we still run the 3 Evo-Singularities, because this card is what makes the deck sort of relevant again after no one sort of played Evolsaurs when they were first released. And you can see why. It's a really powerful card that lets you XE summon using only 1 card, basically. And even though it is a trap card and you do have to wait 1 turn to set it and then activate it to make use of it, it's still really powerful, since you can special summon on your opponent's turn. And if you know that they're going to special summon a bunch of things, you can just chain this to one of their special summon, and you can special summon Evolsaur Solda, which is this card, and you can basically use Solda's effect to destroy whatever they special summon, and most likely you're going to make them waste the card in the process of doing their plays, and they still don't have like a board to deal with like whatever you already have on board. So I would not run any less than 3. And for the rest of the traps, we have 1 Compulse, 1 Vanities, and 1 Solemn. Really standard. For the extra deck, I didn't really change much. Still 1 Evolsaur Solda for the Evo-Singularity. New addition is probably the Dark Rebellion XE Dragon. I find that a lot of cards nowadays have the effect where they're like immune to almost everything. So the only choice is obviously to run them over, something like Clayfault Tower, say for example, or Leo the Guard Beast or whatever. So yeah, Dark Rebellion sort of helps with that. You just target one of the other monsters that they have, and then you can just run over the big one. And then still the same with 2 Laggia and 2 Dolkka. A new addition would probably be the King of the Feral Imps, since now you run the Kagetokages, and with the Kagetokages you can't really make Laggia Dolkka. So you just go into the King of the Feral Imps and then get one of the reptiles, and hopefully next turn you'll be able to get the Laggia Dolkka. And Ragnazero, it's probably just one of like my personal choice. Being able to destroy something and draw 1 card, it's pretty nice. And the others are still pretty standard. The 101, Castel, Exciton, Emerald to recycle back all your dinosaurs if you still have leftover combos in your deck. And then you have the Rhapsody and Berserk to kind of get rid of the graveyard. It's important, especially versing against something like Satellar Knights, and getting rid of their Denebs, or like getting rid of like just breakthrough skills that you opponent have in their graveyard, because that kind of defeats the point of you being able to stun. And obviously the 1000 attack boost, and giving it to something like Laggia or Dolkka is also really helpful, since they can't just run over it by summoning BLS, obviously. So yeah, really good card as well. And just 2 rank 3s to like make use of like 2 Westlos or a dead Casinerio in your hand. Alucard, obviously, to being able to do the extra MST pop, really helpful. And then you have the Mechweb Engineer, which is another personal choice of mine, since this card can protect your Laggia and Dolkka from being Raigeki or something. So yeah, that's it for the extra deck. And below are probably a list of cards that I did consider for the deck, but I just figured it wasn't as optimal. So first one is Evoltile Casinerio. Same as Najasho, works by tributing, but the only thing it does is just sort of fix your hand. Yeah, I just find Najasho way more useful since you can special summon, which is probably more important. And then I took out the Evoltile Gefro, which I used to run 2 of, I think, in my last deck, which I find is a bit too slow since you have to ram it and you can only do things in main phase 2, and I just find that I do like my battle phase in this deck, so yep. And then there's also the famous Cyber Dragon Infinity combo. But the only reason why I didn't put this in is probably because I don't feel like I can take out any cards to accommodate for the 3 extra deck space that this combo requires. Though I will say that it's easy to bring out 3 monsters on the field at once with the Najasho Evo-Force combo, so it's definitely an option that I will probably consider in the future. And then the following ones are just substitutes for enemy control, so starting off with Miniguts. This one's effect is basically tribute 1 monster and then you get to inflict a bunch of damage to your opponent. So it's definitely superior to enemy control in terms of its tribute effect, but the reason why I pick enemy control is because I like the versatility of the second effect more, where you get to switch the battle position. But this card is definitely a card that I like, and I might just substitute this sometime in the future. And then the next one I didn't like as much. It only strictly tribute Najasho, since that's the only level 2 or lower monster in this deck, and its effect lets you bounce level 7 or higher monsters back to the hand, so as you can probably tell, it's not that relevant right now. And then there's also Tyrant's Temper, which I was considering using, but for now I think the 3 MSD I can make do with, unless the meta becomes extremely trap heavy, then I probably just side this until I need it in the future. And then lastly, there's the Horn of Heaven, which I also didn't like too much, because for its effect to activate, your opponent has to special summon something, which is most of the time during the turn. That means you have to set your Najasho on the field and wait for them to special summon something, and then tribute the Najasho to get its effect. And then after that, you're gonna have like a frail dinosaur on the field anyway, and they might just run it over, and next turn you have no plays. So didn't feel like it outshines the enemy control. And so that reaches the end of the deck profile. I hope you guys liked the deck, and if you do, please like and subscribe. Well, if you don't, please comment on some feedback on how I can improve the deck. And with this, I end my turn, and it's your move. See you next time.